Welcome to The Edit, questions and answers edition with Laura Payne and Ryan Powell. This is where we come together and answer questions that you sent in about entrepreneurship, small businesses, and culture in Wales. Shall I get started with the first question for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So, first question today is Grace from Grace from Aberdeen, and how do you handle competition from larger corporations?
Cool. It's a good question. I think there's definitely like a big separation between, I guess, the mindset of like big corporations and small businesses. I see it a lot in Facebook groups and stuff like that where people like support
Yeah,
small business and, we don't buy off these big corporations this year for Christmas, but stuff like that. And I think like stuff like that is good. And it's really good to raise awareness that obviously small businesses and to benefit the economy, we do need to spend everywhere. But in terms of handling competition from bigger corporations, I would say like don't see them as a separate entity. I think what
yeah,
happens is a lot of people will say, "Oh, we're a small business, they're a big corporation," and they almost like mentally put it in their mind that like they'll never get to that big corporation
yeah,
place. And I'm like, no, they've been there and done it, and you can learn a lot from them. Whether it's how they price things, whether it's like how they market things, especially how they market things, you know what I mean? Especially in the digital age, you could probably do a website almost as good with a website builder these days. So you can like
yeah.
not copy, but like, take a lot of
Look,
inspiration from like the big
exactly.
corporations, what they're doing. Like they are basically showing you what's working. And you can use that even as a small business. You can implement things that they're doing, email marketing, text marketing, all these things that seem out of reach, but
Mm,
actually you probably can implement. Obviously, they have some advantage. They've got big financial advantage and investors and all the rest of it. But I
yeah,
first would say, don't see them as a big, don't
big
see them as like
problem.
impossible. Yeah, don't see them as impossible to get to for sure. Because I think if you used to say, oh, they're the big corporates with a small business, I think you're fighting a losing battle there.
I think small businesses do have an advantage over the sort of larger corporates
Okay,
because if, and this is where probably my systems and processes head goes into something, but if
okay,
you work within a corporation, a bigger corporation, like a big London, say London with big offices and all that kind of thing, you have to go through probably 5 sign-offs till you can sign off a check and pay
yeah, okay,
a supplier. Whereas if you're in a small business, you can make, or a smaller business or medium size, you can make those changes a lot quicker, or you can implement new marketing strategies or jump on the latest trends, or do you know what I mean? You can do all those things and you can get approval or an answer a lot quicker than you can in those bigger companies. I find even me, when I obviously we work a lot with small businesses, but when I have worked with larger companies, it has been a nightmare just to get
yeah,
an invoice paid.
red tape,
Because
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
because you've got to go through so many different sign-offs. And actually, is it really needed for
yeah,
them
is it
to
worth it?
start with? Are you just making more work for yourselves? But I think the advantage is there. Like, look at the positive of that scenario and look at it as well tied to anything. I'm not tied to these sort of arrangements that are within the bigger companies. I get why they're there and I completely understand that. But I think as a smaller business, we have got the sort of more flexibility around different things and making decisions
Yeah.
and
I
having
think
those
you're bringing
conversations.
up a really good point there because I was saying, oh, you learn from them and stuff. But I get what you're saying. It's actually, oh, actually use your advantages of being a
Yeah.
small business because you don't have the red tape. I actually have a story from, I went to Malta recently. It does tie in, I swear. I went to Malta recently and we were staying with my partner's parents and they booked us all a hotel and it was quite expensive and the hotel was not really that great for what it was worth. So my partner booked us an Airbnb for half the price and it was 10 times nicer, so many more different rooms, we had a lot of space. And then the parents were like, how's that? And yeah, this got recommended to me. I was like, yeah, okay, this big corporate company's obviously got the advertising budget and the SEO
Yeah.
to rank first. But actually, one of the reasons that this Airbnb was cheaper is because they didn't have to pay office staff and maintenance and all these things. It's
Commissions.
just, Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
right? As a small business, I was like, "Oh, it'd be so good if these apartments advertised as cheaper cost because we don't have to pay for pool staff and all the rest of it." And I was like,
Yeah.
"That would be a great idea, right?" Because then if you're cheaper, sometimes the customer can be like, "Oh, they're probably worse." But if you're
Why
cheaper
are
and
they
you
cheaper
explain
at the
why,
end?
yeah. But if you're cheaper and you go, "Oh, we're cheaper because we don't have to pay this," so your money actually goes towards the room rather than all these things. I think people might be more inclined to book with you. They'd be like, "Oh, that's why they're cheaper. It's not because they're worse. It's because they don't have to pay all these overheads
Yeah.
and different things."
And you can put more of a personal touch to, especially like Airbnbs. There's always that
Mm.
touch, isn't there? I know I booked them, and when we've gone into the accommodation, some of them in Wales, they got a little basket full of sort of wealth
Oh,
products.
yeah.
And it's those little things that count, I think, when you do use these smaller businesses. But yeah, I think the bigger the size business, the harder it is to implement even the slightest thing. I think it's worlds different from small businesses and the way that we can and could operate if you chose to.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh,
More questions?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So we got another question here. So this is from Oscar from Penarth. And Oscar asks, "What are the most common mistakes new business owners make?" God, what
Now,
mistakes don't we make?
this is coming from somebody that had never run a business before. Don't get me wrong, I've dabbled in those pyramid schemes and sort of community businesses like Avon and Body Shop and all
Oh,
that.
I
And
didn't know that.
I, back in when I was probably 18 and just coming back into work, I wanted some flexibility, and that's how it was sold. Um,
Okay.
and I've, I've tried that part of it, and I've learned little bits and pieces around marketing and that, as you do. But I think when I stepped into my business now, LCVA, and the whole launch of that, it was new. I'd never done it before, so I didn't even know how to do it. It was just I was going to go with it and see how it goes. There are obviously areas that you can plan ahead for, that you can maybe not go too wrong in business. But I think when people talk about being wrong, it's their perception of being wrong as well. And business owners can be really hard on themselves. For example, we help business owners because they've got to a point where they are absolutely overwhelmed because they want to keep costs down by maybe not employing staff or maybe not outsourcing a certain task to maybe a marketing agency or a recruitment agency. Do you know what I mean? Those kind of,
Yeah.
and they're trying to do everything themselves, but there is a smarter way of working. And I think with this question as well, it falls into a bit around the budget that's come out recently. And
Yes,
it's
yeah.
talking about employing people and the restrictions. Obviously, when you get to employ more people, then it's even more charge on the business. And it's about being smart. It's making smart decisions. So obviously, I've done a quick sort of Google search on this, and one of the answers comes up as lack of a business plan. I didn't even have
Yeah.
I didn't have a business plan when I started. Ends up, I didn't have one, but I knew in my mind what I was aiming for and what I
You had a
wanted.
vision.
Yeah, I had that vision and what I wanted to achieve. Some of us are not great at writing, so having to write a business plan can be really daunting. There is support out there, obviously, but I don't think, and I think there's probably the same similar people in my situation where they probably didn't write that business plan first setting off. I think trying to do everything yourself, I get why people want to do this. You want to keep costs down. You want to be able to pay yourself a wage at the same time as the business is running and growing in your way. But there comes a time where you haven't got all the time in the world to be able
Yeah.
to do those
Do
tasks.
you think it's important to have a plan? Would you say now it's important to have a plan or
I'd say it's very important to have a plan or day to day or particular tasks that come in. Business plan, I'm still not 100% sold on it.
oh, really? I think we might have opposite opinions here. I think
I love a
I'm like,
plan. I do, but I think the way the world works right now, that there are changes all the time. and
Yeah, I'd have to agree there.
you would
There's
have to continuously edit that document, and that would probably end up being the pain of your life for a good few years, when actually you could be using your time by going out there and doing something physical and implementing something. The worrying was on the paper. I
Oh yeah, so I think we're in agreement. Yeah, to an extent, I love a plan. It's
think
just a way of doing it. But for me, it's more the I think when it comes to a plan, I think what interests me the most on a plan is actually just the financials. I think that's more what I mean with a
I
plan,
think there
because
was
it's
yeah. So I
yeah
think getting some, or getting in touch with an accountant or something, I think you have to have that part of supporting your business if that's not your area of expertise, and looking at cash flows and just your profit and loss and your balance sheet and all that kind of thing. You do really need to understand some of it, at
yeah
least, maybe not all of it. But in terms of where you're going in, my thoughts are in terms of where you're going in growth wise. If you've got a clear vision, then absolutely great. If you're also jumping hurdles
um,
high, then maybe it's not ready to be put on to paper completely. But that said,
yeah.
you need a business plan in place. Excuse me, if you want to get a loan or anything like that, you do have to provide these requested documents. So there is part of it that you will have to do. And I always love a plan. I really do. And it's probably comes to a shock to everyone that knows me, that would say, I haven't actually got a up-to-date business plan right now.
That has
Um,
shocked me a little bit. I know you like a fan. You've literally got a calendar in the background. I'm pretty sure.
I but
But,
yeah, it's just the way we work, and I think we work so flexibly and so fluid, and we are always innovating around different systems and processes. They always changing or tweaking slightly.
okay,
It
that's good. That's really
it
good.
would yeah, it would never be. I think when you put something down on paper, I that text in your mind could change by the following week. Um,
Yeah, I get. Yeah, I do get that. I think I have a bit of a nightmare in my company where because I meticulously plan everything, and then like even down to especially when it comes to sales and marketing, right? So it's like we got to send out X amount of messages a month, and we got to send out like we run an advert. It's gonna be this many days. It's gonna get this many clicks. I could probably tell you all the numbers, which is I know it probably says something about me, but my partner's more flexible and is willing to bend. Whereas I'm like, all right, I'm only willing to spend this much on venues, blah, 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 which is super useful. But every now and then
and
I can miss an opportunity because bit of a flaw where like someone would offer us maybe be slightly higher. And I'm ready to just basically put it in the bin. And then my partner's
not
actually,
on the plan.
yeah, it's on my plans. I'm putting it in the bin. Whereas my partner would be like, actually, they've got a large following, which means that if we use them, then we're going to actually earn it back more than if we went with this place. She's a lot more flexible in that sense. I guess maybe like having a bit of both in your business is probably useful.
I think so. I love a plan. There's always a plan, but in terms of a business plan, I think it can just it can get outdated quickly.
It's true.
And for some people that struggle putting things into words, my son, he can explain something to you in plain normal English that we would be able to understand, but ask him to put that down on paper and he really struggles to find the right words.
Oh,
And
interesting.
for some people, I think that would probably be the case as well. Maybe you create a digital sort of kind of business plan rather than the bog standard traditional
Be quite
paper
cool, like
form.
a
So
recorded one,
I
like a
guess you can do it in
presentation.
all, yeah, you can do it in all different ways. But yeah, going back to the question that we were on, there's so many different, I think, mistakes we make along the way, or lessons we learn along the way of starting a business and growing it and continuing to grow it as you go along. Also, I think one of the key things is learning about the clients or customers that you want, and learning about what they are looking for when they are searching on the internet. And actually not underpricing yourself too much either. I think when I first started out the business, because I had literally no clients at all, you would take whatever which
Yeah.
your way.
Yeah, that's a big mistake, I think, of small businesses. So it's pricing. I think I worked in a marketing agency, and something that we used to ask clients, and I always thought this is a great question. Be like, who prices your services? And there would be a good and bad answer for it. So the good ones would say, oh, we price our services. Sorry, the bad ones would say, we price our services. And the good ones would go, no, the market prices our services. And I really like that because that was a way of seeing where people's mindsets are at. Is, yeah, do we
Yeah,
price it? But then there's a lot of emotion in that, and what am I worth, and all this stuff. Or does the market just let the market speak for itself? We tested all sorts of in our game tickets. We tested all sorts of prices, and we know what people will and won't pay for because that's what the market says, and it's like an emotional way of doing it, which I much prefer.
you know what?
Yeah,
I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I can see with yourself. Obviously, you're selling that product and going with what's out there, and being a little bit competitive as well. I think with our services is quite interesting because we will have the occasional customer that will come and say to us, why do you charge £30 an hour when I could do this sort of in 5 minutes for nothing? And I'm like,
yeah,
because in order for me to be able to do this task within that sort of quick time period that you want it turned around, I have done years and years of
yeah, yeah, yeah,
training, of getting qualifications if we needed them. And some people don't see the value in it in that sense, which can be quite disheartening and can be hard on a business owner when they are trying to just make ends meet running their business, even if it's just on their own. So there is
yeah.
lots of different that would need improvement, or you could go wrong, I think, when you first start your business. But look at it, don't dwell on it as too much of a big problem. I think using reflection as a tool is key that I've
Mm.
learned. Um, Even reflecting on a weekly basis. How are things gone this week? What went well? What
Oh,
didn't go so
definitely.
well?
Oh my God, you
So
got to do that. Yeah, I didn't do
yeah,
that in the beginning, and that is a lifesaver. And sometimes we even forget to do it now. We're guilty of it. This week, I've hounded people on this, like this week. So it's like we do not big daily reports. I don't get them to fill out anything. I just generally, because we work from home, we just a little of what we've done today, and it's so short. But oh my gosh, that's helping us so much because I think one of my staff members was like, "Oh, this question keeps coming up." I'm like, "Thank you for telling me that. Now I can fix it." The German was like, "If we don't do reports, we'll be able to improve." So yeah, that's huge. Yeah, yeah, reporting. I didn't even think of that. It's like a small business mistake. That's a good one.
and yeah, because some people don't think of it. They just see it as sales, sale after sale after sale. But actually, how can you make that better? How can you make that process better for that customer? How can you make that system? And yeah, I always go back to
Mm,
reflection. But it's not just in a business sense. It's reflection on yourself when you're learning as a business owner as well. Look how far you've come from the day that you launched your business to today. For me, it's 6 years on. Oh my God, I'm a different person. So it's
yeah,
about, it's about not being too hard on yourself as well, I think. But we've got loads of questions to get through.
that's such a
Next,
good question. That's all.
next question is from Emma from Manchester. Is it fair to prioritize profit over employee well-being in a competitive market?
Okay, I don't really like the question because I don't really know why these things are like separate. Like for me, it's if you've got happy employees, you've probably got a well-profiting business, and you're not paying like, high turnover costs and recruiting because
Oh,
recruitment costs a lot of money. I wouldn't even see these as separate. I think I understand what the question is asking though, which is you could essentially pile a lot of work in someone's hours and really maximize what they're doing, but it might make an employee miserable or stressed. And again, and maybe if you like pay well enough, that would be enough to not have a high turnover ratio. So there's so many like ethical dilemmas on how you work it. Personally, I wouldn't see them as separate, and I would definitely just communicate what kind of work is generally expected, and don't lie about it as an employer. I worked for a marketing agency, and I think that they did it really where we had down months and we had really busy months, but we were made clear before we started what would be really busy, what really busy looks like, and what really quiet looks like. But when it was really quiet, they did something really good, and that was that they didn't just give us pointless tasks. We actually did just chill out when it was quiet, and then that made it to when it was busy. We actually did operate quite well because we were like, do you know what, this will end. This is not like a constant. We could
Yeah.
see, and I think the way they did that was really nice because there's a lot of employers that would just like give you stuff to do, and I really like the fact that they were like, no, I'm going to let them have the downtime because when it gets busy, and again, it was always very clearly communicated to us. So I think definitely clear communication is huge for that. I
Yeah.
think you need to communicate so clearly that what's expected and what could happen and stuff, and then not to take the mick. I'm not okay with prioritizing it. If I promise my employees, oh, this is what the work week's, and then all of a sudden, like a few weeks in or a few months in, like I'm overloading them, I think that's really unethical. And especially if there's no financial incentive or bonuses or anything like
Yeah.
that, then that is very wrong because you could still be really profitable as a company. And you could, let's just use simple percentages. Like, let's just say your profits go up 100%. We'd all love that, but just for the sake of argument, it doesn't mean you have to increase the employee's wage by 100% because there's a lot you've done as a business owner and the marketing and all the rest of it to make that happen. But you could increase your employee's wage by a certain percentage to
Yeah.
account for that because, yeah, okay, we got more work on now. So my original agreement and contract with you is probably invalid and we need to adjust that. So I would just say adjust with it. That's really my answer. In terms of prioritizing it, I wouldn't see them as separate. I'd see them as hand in hand. How do we make a big profit while also not making our employees miserable? That's
Well,
what we
and
want
I
to do.
think another thing is your employees will help you get that profit.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not
So
separate, is it?
no, so I think that, and then that's how I see it. Maybe that's the same as you, how you see it. And if they have increased profit by 100%, for example, then surely they should be rewarded, whether it be a team day, whether it be, I don't know, a treat day where somebody comes into the office and gives everybody a massage or something at their desk. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? But reward them, because I think they will learn that is a good thing. And the more they put into it, the more profit that they're able to make for the business. You are going to be thankful for it. And you're going to be not, I don't want to say rewarding, because it is partly rewarding, but it's also looking after them. It's also looking after them in a very different way. And well-being is one of them. We know that in a workplace, it can be very stressful, depends on your workload, depending on your actual job. Do you manage people? It really depends on lots of different, I think, different scenarios here. But shouldn't, the way I look at this question is, if you are pushing for a profit, you shouldn't be doing it at the expense of your staff, because your staff are your assets.
yeah.
And without them, you wouldn't really get the profit that you were probably aiming for. It's a team effort.
It's also a
Um,
management nightmare to replace staff as well. That is
yeah,
really like signing them up on like pay as you earn and all that. You wouldn't want to do that anyway, surely, right? Like,
no, I
so
know. Yeah, I
that's
think
not wise, is it?
no, and you look after the people that obviously bring your food to the table for you every day. I think that, I hope we've answered Emma's question, but I feel like there's lots of areas that we could go through right now.
Yeah. Essentially, we just don't see them as separate. We think they should, as you profit, you should reward, look after employees, don't cause burnout, manage expectations. I think
Yeah,
those are the big ones.
yeah, it's not all you're doing as a business owner. If you've got a team underneath you, it's a team effort. So yeah, so look
Yeah,
after, if you look after yourself, look after everybody else as well, I think.
absolutely.
Cool.
Cool.
Right.
Okay, so I got another question here from Nathan from Flint. What are the best ways to attract and retain customers?
Good question. And there are lots of different ways. I think I'm quite lucky in the sense that a lot of our clients come based off referrals. Somebody uses our services and then they will talk to their friends or business friends and say, oh, they've helped us with this. They were great, blah, blah, blah. That person then gets in touch with us. But I think with that question as well, you need to sort of rewind back a little bit and understand who your customer is.
Yeah,
That will help you answer that question as well, because you need to do a little bit of who's your ideal client, what's your kind of sweet spot that you're looking for in particular industries. So I know with yourself, your consumer base. So
Yeah, families is our target
Yeah.
market, mainly women. And I think the fact that we know that it's women aged 30 to 55 for us is huge. Because now what I do to attract the customers is I go, where do women aged 30 to 55 in these locations hang out and then place adverts there? Like
Yeah.
it's quite that
And
simple.
you then attract the clientele that you want. And
Yeah.
in in order to retain those clients, then it's about, or clients, customers, it's about providing that good service and making them want to come back for more. So for us, it's doing a job, doing a task that they've asked us to do, and doing it quick or well presented. Or I know we do a lot of graphic work for particular clients who have presentations, and the presentations they send us to start off with are very something that you would probably do when you were in high school.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
Yeah. And that, when we do them and obviously put our sort of spin on them and present them with the finished product or the first draft, they're like, wow, this is totally amazing. And I think it's building a good relationship with your clients or customers as well. And it's not just about the selling, it's what goes with it, or everything else that goes around with it as well. Showing them a good, like with yourself, showing them a good experience, showing them that you've got good vendors on sites, that
Yeah.
your toilets are clean. Do you know what I mean? Little bits and
Yeah,
pieces
simple. Yeah,
that,
I think for us, attracting for us is like making it really easy to do business with us. Again, we're B2C, so bit of difference, but for us, it's going to be so easy to make a payment with us. When I think of the big, like some of the biggest corporations in the world, take Facebook, take Meta, and then we'll take Google. I think we've all used them, and they're so easy to use. You can Google, literally just type into any sort of search bar, whether you're on Safari, using Google Chrome, using whatever it is. You're a customer of Google. It is so simple to use. And then with Facebook, it is simple to make an account, log in, and it's very easy as a business owner to spend money with them. Very easy. You just put in your card details, away you go, right? So it's like, for us, we try and adopt that like frictionless experience where if you click on our website, it quickly explains to you in 3 steps what we are. We're a cinema, we do food, we do an act. Brilliant. Okay, that's great. And then they click the buy now button, you book tickets, and you could check out with us in 3 minutes. And I think that for us is how we attract. We attract because it's very easy to spend money with us and use Apple Pay or whatever. Like that's
when,
it for us. Obviously, we're B2C, so it's a little different.
yeah.
But
And it's the ease of the transaction as well, though, isn't it? Like,
oh yeah,
when you go shopping online, you don't want to have to jump through, I don't know, 4 different screens until you get to the checkout. If you want to buy something, you just want to buy it. Like
I'm so
Amazon,
impatient. I will close it. I will. I am the people that
we
do
go
this.
else. So it is right, though. We do get frustrated when things are not happening as quick as we want them. And technology can do that if it's set up in the right way and used in the right way. So I think, yeah, putting those good systems and processes in place and making them foolproof as well will really support your customer base and help you retain them and want them coming back for more. So we've got one more question that I was going to just quickly squeeze in.
Okay,
And that's from Freya from Portsmouth. What are the best ways to handle negative reviews online? And
cool,
I think it goes
awesome.
quite nice with the question we had before.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I'm quite good to answer this, only because, like I said, because we're B2C, we deal with thousands of people, which means that, unfortunately for us, the ones that are allowed are the negative ones, and you will get them. You cannot physically please everyone, and so we're no stranger to them, and big companies are no stranger to them, and so on. So they will happen. So learning how to deal with them is definitely
Yeah.
really needed for us. First thing to do is remember and unless you've got loads of negative reviews, then you've done something really wrong. But like I say, if you're dealing with a lot of people and you get a few, I would say firstly, don't get super emotional, or at least wait until you're not emotional to respond. I like to see it as a percentage. Like we see 500 people a night. We're like, all right, if only 5 people leave a negative review, it's not actually that much when you think about it in terms of a percentage. So that's the first thing I would do, is see it as a percentage just to make yourself not emotional. And then once you've done that, actually read what it is and if it's like
I
valid.
was going
And
to
then I always
say,
like to think,
yeah, let's find out, is the problem first? Yeah.
yeah, because
A big problem, or is it just a sort of
yeah,
smaller
yeah,
problem?
because like I said, you can't please everyone. And it's always really important to know that you could say the same thing to two people, and one person could get offended by it, and one
So,
person couldn't. Or you could give two people exactly the same experience. And one would go, "Oh, I loved it," and one would go, "I hate it," because some things are subjective, not objective. So obviously keep that in mind. And then if it is a fault and you've genuinely done something wrong, don't shy away from it. And just to tell a little personal story, I think I told it before, but we did one show that was rubbish. It was really bad, and we did refund people, and we're quite open about that. And the reason we're quite open about it is because if we weren't open about it, I think we would have lost a lot of people, but we were open about it. And what we did is we admitted the mistake. We said, all right, here's the list of mistakes. We listed them. And then next to the mistakes, we put a list of actions on how we're fixing them. So we actually showed like the customers like a clear roadmap of we've acknowledged these things. We're putting these things in place. We then
yeah,
refunded. And we actually found that the day we did that, and this is not a lie, it was actually our best sales day. This is actually not a lie. This is a cool story. But it generally was our best day in sales. And it's because people wanted to come back and wanted to come try us. And not only that, because we did this statement publicly, people who weren't even involved with what went on bought tickets just in support of us. So
just
it
to
was
see
really
anyway.
cool
Yeah.
because I think people are humanizing companies a lot more when we are giving them that human touch and being like, oh, look, we genuinely care. We want to admit that we've done wrong, and we don't want to take some like blank illegal statement on this. We want to be like, no, this is genuinely what happened. We are sorry. Here's how we're fixing it. And we take that human approach. That works really well. So yeah, if you've done something wrong, own up, say what you did wrong, and say how you're going to fix it. I think that's probably the best way of doing
100%.
it.
I think just thinking back when we've made mistakes, and like you said, we're only human. That's going to happen. Don't beat yourself up about it. But have a look at what you've done, learn from it, reflect again, because that reflection is a key piece. And just own it and make those changes and be honest. I think that's what you can be. People buy from people. I think that's a big thing within the business world that some people forget.
Yeah.
Um, Especially with the smaller businesses, you are actually buying from a smaller group of people or family. Do you know what I mean? It might be a family run business and it's all relatable. I think feedback is great, whether it's good or negative. I always encourage people to give us feedback, and I don't mind whether they've got something bad to say or something good to say, but at least they've said it. They've got it off their chest, but also we can learn from it as well. And like you said, you did a really good example there by just putting it out on social media and holding your hands up. I think if more people do that, the world will be a bit more of a humble place.
Yeah, yeah. Just be honest, man. Like
Yeah.
that's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah,
Cool.
there's no point hiding things, I don't think.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think so either. Cool. I think that's all
Wow.
we have time for.
There's If you've got a question on entrepreneurship or you're in the creative sector and need the answer to some burning questions, please drop us an email, theeditwales@gmail.com.